Welcome, everyone. We'd like to welcome everyone today to our May Chew. Today, we're excited to introduce to you all Michael Smith, who is the president of the Chatham Economic Development Corporation. And we also have Chet Mann, who is the mayor of Sanford. These two young men have been very instrumental in getting this momentous project together that we call VinFast. So today, what I'd like to do is just kind of explain to you what we're going to be doing today. We're going to have a question and answer session. I'm going to ask you guys to chat your questions, and so that I'll know it's a question, go ahead and put a Q in the front of it, Q dash your question, and then we will go from there. So we're going to start out with having Chet introduce himself, and then we're going to have Michael introduce himself, and then we'll go with the questions. The floor is yours, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Keith. I'll go first since I got on earlier. I'm really honored to do this. Thank you for having me. I'm Chet Mann. I am the current mayor of Sanford, North Carolina. I'm also a mortgage team leader at CMG Home Loans. We just opened an office in Pittsburgh at the Mosaic. Been mayor for 8 years, been in this industry for about 12 and a half. Have a wife and 2 sons at home that are grown now, and love giving back to the community. I've served in many different ways, been most recently mayor of 8 years. And we've had just a tremendous run, and I'm really excited to be able to talk to the realtors today, because I think what they're going to hear is going to be kind of life-changing in the region, and we're going to need them to help us bring people here and find homes. So good topic today. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Chet. Michael?
Good morning. It's nice to be with you. Michael Smith. I was actually born in the Triangle in Durham. Spent half my life in the Triangle. I've been in economic development for over 20 years in North Carolina. Prior to my arrival here in Chatham County, I was actually with Mayor Mann in Lee County for 2.5 years, where we had great success there. And it's very exciting to be with you to talk about kind of what's going on really in the US 1 corridor, basically from Pfizer on up to where we are now at VinFast. It's going to be a lot of dramatic changes, and it's a really exciting time to be back in this part of North Carolina.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So just for those that just logged on, what we're going to do is, if you have questions, I want you to put a Q in front of your questions. I know that it's the questions, and I want you to put that in the chat. So I'm going to just open it up with a few questions. Michael, how did this all come about? Give us a little history about bringing VinFast to the area.
Well, I guess it really starts many years ago with Steve Stroud, who is certainly a well-known business person in this region. His vision probably 20 years ago was to bring a vehicle manufacturer to the Monteer site. And so he and other community leaders, including Dennis Wicker and other folks there in Lee County, along with Chatham leaders, helped put this all together. We continue to work together, certainly from a regional standpoint. Sanford several years ago, that Mayor Mann will talk more about, was very helpful in terms of getting water and sewer capacity to this particular site. One of the things that an advanced manufacturer, in particular a vehicle manufacturer, is going to look for is several thousand acres, proximity to a limited access highway, and certainly proximity to the workforce. This project began last fall and kicked into high gear early in the calendar year, and then it got closer and closer, and it was certainly like anything this large, it was very competitive. We were competing very closely with Savannah, and ultimately VinFast chose us over Savannah. And that was interesting because, as you may have noticed in the news recently, Hyundai announced a similar project in Savannah. So, but we're excited to have this opportunity. It was the largest industrial announcement in the history of North Carolina, 7,500 jobs. and the investment, and all this is phase one, is $4 billion. And, it's a dramatic scale. One of the things that I think is important to bear in mind is in many places, a 200-acre industrial park is a good sized industrial park. And that's, all across North Carolina, 200-acre parks are successful. This is 2,000 acres. And that's just the park that's VinFast. There's another 400 acres adjacent to it that's tipped west. But with that, that's kind of a little bit of the background and history. And certainly anything this large we've had a lot of help from a lot of different directions. And certainly our community college is another key asset that was helpful in this project. Certainly last night seeing Dr. Chapman, who leads our Central Carolina Community College, and also Dr. Rawls, who's certainly the leader in Wake County. Both of them were key people in this project.
All right, thank you. Mayor Mann, now when we think about the site, talk to us a little bit about the site, that site in Montecure, and how that came to be. How did that site attract? What about that site attracted VinFast?
Well, I think, of course, Michael can speak to that as well, but I think, that site in Montecure had always been sort of an industrial site. There had been plants there in the past. They were actually torn down and demolished. So it wasn't strange or a new concept to have an industrial play there. What we hadn't had in the past was someone that could put together assemble 2,000 acres. What made it important, I guess, was that its location. Highway 1 is sort of an interstate quality kind of highway with proximity to the triangle. Sanford being the closest city, and probably Apex and Pittsburgh being the second closest cities. I think what helped our part of it was in 2018, we were approached by the developers, Steve Stroud, Dennis Rigger, Kurt Bradley, who's involved in Chatham Park and the Mosaic. They had this concept of, hey, we need to make this a mega site, and we really need to start promoting it a little differently to attract a big user. So they asked us if we would consider investing in a sewer line. One of the things that city of Sanford does very well is water and sewer, and we have this region leading capacity. Montecure couldn't check the box. Chatham County has 2 mega sites. They couldn't afford to put all their money into just one. And then, of course, they also landed the Toyota battery plant. Chatham County's just been on fire. So we said, we'll take a risk, and we constructed a $16 million sewer line to Montecure that was able to check the box. So Michael could then do what he does and recruit this large player with the help of the state of North Carolina to Montecure. Putting that in there, though, that without it, they would not have chosen Montecure. So we made the investment, took the gamble, and 4 years later it paid off.
Thank you so much. We do have some questions coming in. I have one question for you, and either of you guys can answer this question. So what is VinFast? Tell us what VinFast is. We read about it. Talk to us about VinFast.
VinFast is one of the largest corporate conglomerates in Southeast Asia. It's $35 billion Vin Group is who backs them. The subsidiary of VinFast was created in 2017 to be their automotive arm. Their plan is to build 150,000 vehicles a year once they're ramped up, and they're trying to ramp up in second quarter 2024. So it's an exciting, fast-moving company. One of the things that they did also, they've hired experienced global automotive executives, including from Ford, including from Italian and German companies. So they're moving very quickly, and it's an exciting opportunity. I think another thing that's fascinating is that one of the things they are looking to do is create top electric vehicles that are going to be better priced for the market. They're not going to be in the Tesla price range. For example, the VF8 is going to be in the 40,000 range. So.
Okay, thank you for that. So I have one question coming in. Will the VinFast operation extend across OUS 1 to the land behind Arco?
Yeah. DOT is still in the process of putting together the specific configuration. Certainly both of the interchanges will be upgraded. One of them will be changed, but I'm not really in a position to comment on specifics at this time on that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. You all come on, type your questions. I'm sure you got plenty of them. Let's see what you got. What is the predicted? When is it going to start? What's the predicted finish time, and how is that going to benefit us in the real estate market?
They're looking to start earthwork third quarter of this year, and they're still on track for that. They want to complete that in fourth quarter, start production Q2 24. It's electric vehicles and batteries. I guess how that's going to affect the people on this call, it's 529 million new tax revenue over 20 years, and that's after incentives, and 7 billion in resident earnings and ripple effect over 20 years. So that's a lot of home buying power. I mean, one of the things that Mayor Mann and I talked about prior to this call, in a lot of cases, I think if we look at this project, it's like we are building another town from scratch. I mean, and that's one way to look at it. And when you got in phase one, 7,500 people that are going to be working, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of home buyers and homes that need to be built as well.
Right.
Okay. Mayor Mann?
Well, just I guess to add to that, this is a transformational project. It's probably a once in a generation type thing. But we see it as lifting a whole lot of people out of poverty in Lee County and surrounding counties. One of the things that we haven't mentioned yet is we have this large user, but there'll probably be several dozen supplier companies that will come in within a 40 or 50 mile radius of Moncure. And they're probably going to look not just in Wake County, but in our counties and places where it's a little more affordable and a little better quality of life. So, this is so much bigger. And when, as far as I'm in the industry of real estate and mortgage, I mean, it's just going to be a game changer for people who invest in themselves and market themselves, who are in this business full time. We'll have more customers than we've ever dreamed. And, you'll see more dry cleaners and more coffee shops and more restaurants and more service industry and all the things that come with growth. This is akin to what happened in Spartanburg, Greenville, Greer, South Carolina, the 90s when BMW came to town. Greenville now is considered one of the best downtowns in the United States, and Spartanburg and Greer have become really nice, bustling little small cities that have really benefited from the wealth that's created from these kind of investments. This is what this company will do. They will bring wealth to a region. And so as a mayor, that's really important because I'm trying to help everyone, not just a few.
Thank you. Thank you.
And one of the things about the map for this particular site that we provided this company is that the VinFast site is within an hour of 22 counties in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So that's dramatic when you think about it. That's over 1/5 of the entire state. Yeah. And large employers in our region like Pfizer already have, they've shared with us in the past, they have employees from 17 different counties. So that stretch of saying 22 is not a stretch for something this large. And I guess one more thing to tag on to what the mayor mentioned is because it is an automotive plant, it has the opportunity to reach more families. You've got a wider range of families are going to be able to have people that will be able to work for VinFast.
All right, I've got a question. What is the average wage and how will that fit with the housing costs in the area? And either of you all can.
The average wage is just over 51,000. So I guess you guys would be able to better respond to that than I. I mean, certainly I know there are a number of new subdivisions being built now in Chatham County that's difficult for. But again, throughout the region, we think that'll be a positive.
Okay. All right. Man, you have any comments?
Well, I think 51,000 is a great wage. And I think what you need to remember is half those people make more than 51,000. And then you've got your supplier companies will be paying those wages too. I also think that, housing costs, I think will moderate over time. This continual home value appreciation in double digits has to cool off. So hopefully we'll see some things. I've already seen a 1,500 home plat on Pea Ridge Road already been submitted in Chatham, getting ready to be submitted in Chatham County. So I think every builder in the country that has any scale and every small and regional builder will get busy now. There's no doubt that they have customers. So you'll start to see, and I think that extra inventory is going to help give customers choices and moderate prices. It has to. It's a supply and demand thing.
Okay, all right. Question is, where will the trash generated from this site, and where would they end up?
The trash generated from the site?
Yeah, so as we look at the infrastructure, building it out, how has the city prepared for the increase in waste, and things of that nature that might be generated as a result, I guess, of the site being built and for communities being built?
Michael, I don't know if you have an answer, Michael, but counties take in consideration growth, and they will accommodate whatever byproduct comes out of that plant like they would any other user. What you might see on the scale of this is that there'll be additional sites built or additional areas created to if it truly creates that much more waste. But Michael, you may know more about their product that they made with modern technology. The waste is not like it used to be.
Yeah, well, I know one answer to that question would be something, a document that I sent to this group, I guess, yesterday, that I think is important in answering this question and others, is that one of the things that the leadership in Chatham County did several years ago in anticipation of us winning a major project like this is put into place something that when we won a big project, then that would trigger a small area plan would have to be put together. And now Chatham County is going to be working certainly with Lee County and others in the region to put a small area plan together. What is a small area plan? That's in the document that I sent out. And we're in the process now of working to secure a consulting firm that is then going to help put that together. And multiple counties in this region will come together on a number of these issues, because when you talk about waste, when you talk about schools, when you talk about traffic, all this, I mean, obviously we're very excited about this project, but also we want to make it be a very big positive for the region and not do something that's going to overwhelm our region.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. One question, will the main site be located on Pea Ridge Road and where the old textile mill is located?
No, hang on, it's actually,
come on, you guys, ask questions. I know you have them. Come on, submit some more questions. My realtor colleagues, give me some more questions out there.
I would think Michael's looking for a map.
Yeah, yeah.
I am looking for a map. I've got my site plan out. No, it is part of one of the main sections is going to be on Monterey Flatwood. And that's going to be the main entrance for now. And Pea Ridge Road is actually, that is what we call Chip West. And so that's a separate development that's not specifically tied to VinFast.
Okay. All righty. Come on. I need some more questions out there. I need some more questions. Fire them up. Let's go. So as we look at this whole project, and how does that compare? Or I'm hearing this, it's a large project. It's going to be on a big scale, and the how does that compare what we're doing over here with Chatham Park in Pittsburgh? This particular project.
Well, certainly Chatham Park is a complement to this, and certainly any discussion that my staff and I have had either at the tip site in Montour or the Chatham Advanced Manufacturing mega site in Siler City, we always talk about Chatham Park because that's right in the middle. And it's going to be 60,000 people at full build out. And I know my counterparts in Sanford with some of their projects, even when I was there before I got here, we would also include Chatham Park in our discussion because, again, that's another city, the new city that's being built. And so, it's an exciting opportunity in terms of places to live, places to work, places to shop, and with great proximity.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Keith, Chatham Park is really a compliment because talking with the owners of Chatham Park Preston Development recently, this plant will probably accelerate their build out by 10 years. I mean, when they're advertising 7,500 customers, but we've heard 13,000. I mean, employees, we've heard up to 13,000 over 10 or 15 years. So, when you've got 20,000 housing permits in Chatham Park, I would think a bulk of people will find Chatham Park to be a very great place for them to live. Also, anything around Chatham Park and anything, moving closer to Moncure, Apex, and Sanford everybody's going to win in those regions. And I bet you with the Toyota plant in Liberty, that site, I mean, you're going to see people from Greensboro. I don't think it's a stretch to think that people would commute an hour, but I think a whole lot of people would find Chatham Park to be a great place for them to live and work in Moncure.
Okay, all right. Question here: is there a site map to share located by bordering roads?
Not at this time.
Not this time. Would there be something that at some point in time you guys would be generating?
Yes, absolutely.
Any links to public transportation? How is that going to affect the infrastructure for building out more public transportation in the areas? Is that going to be an addition? Is that going to help us promote that process of building out more public transportation?
Yes, and we certainly had significant discussions with the Department of Transportation, not only for the infrastructure at the site, but for public infrastructure. And I'll let Mayor Mann talk more about that, because the S line is going to go right by this site and connect with Raleigh.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great point. Keith, these things will evolve, but one of the things you got to remember is the federal government, President Biden was involved in these discussions with this VinFast plan. And I mean, he's made it clear that he wants to see electric vehicles in America, and all the companies are jumping on and saying by 2030, most of them will be all electric. So this is what I think people need to take away from this a little bit. And then I'll answer the more specific question is, America is about to go through a transformational change. We're leaving gas engines and going to electric engines. We're going to electric vehicles. We're entering in a phase like we entered 100 years ago with combustion engines. Now we're doing a different era. Michael, I don't know, I'm sure you would concur. Our Lee County economic developers are telling us 75% of the projects they are looking at are being asked to submit. 75% of them have something to do with an electric vehicle right now. So this country is undergoing massive change, and the regular citizen might not even realize it, but we are preparing in cities for this kind of thing. So one of the things that we want to do is create other than car transportation. And I think that over time in the Moncure area, that the government, the state, federal government, so they will probably, these kind of projects bring these things on faster with more federal aid. But I'm the chairman of the S-Rail committee, which is the old CSX line that the state of North Carolina has purchased. And we're working on a commuter train that would go from Sanford all the way to through Apex, Raleigh, go right past this site in Moncure at our Lee County Airport and run right past this site in Moncure. Train track's already there, but this would be a commuter train, not like an Amtrak, but a commuter train that you could take a ride from Raleigh to that location and get off. What we're working on is the last mile. So there's some municipal funded or subsidized Uber type product now. One's called Via that we're working on. So you could take the commuter train from Raleigh or Sanford for minimal cost, jump off, and then get a municipal subsidized Uber ride to your workplace, or some other means that will come on in the future. So that's another way that we're going to move people. This is huge for Raleigh because getting into Raleigh in 20 years by car is going to be a lot longer and more congested. So we're working really hard to tie all the communities together with the train. And that could be a very big way a lot of people will access that plant. But I think you're going to see other forms of public transportation develop over time. And what I would say though is all this we're talking about is not going to happen in 365 days. It's not going to be a year. This is going to be a ramp up. Although they have a pretty aggressive ramp up, we have time to adjust and account for schools and traffic and things like that. Everybody sometimes panics and thinks we're going to have 7,000 people moving here next year. No, we'll have them gradually coming in over the next 10 years. So
one comment was, there may be some concerns about environmental issues, farm preservation, and quality of life as this area grows. And so I'm sure you guys have taken all that into consideration. Can you speak to a little bit of environmental issues or concerns, farm preservation and quality of life regarding this bill?
Well, certainly, right now there are over 1,000 small farms in Chatham County, and we don't see that changing soon. We're fortunate to be the only county in North Carolina with 2 mega sites. And so, while the VinFast site is taken up most, virtually all of that mega site, we have a second mega site of almost 1,900 acres, very close to Siler City, and actually it's only 10 minutes from the Toyota battery plant in Liberty. So at this time, we feel like from an industrial standpoint, we have the land that we need to continue to create jobs and investment, and don't see a need to expand too much for now.
Okay. Mayor Manning, any comment?
Well, Michael's right. The problem or the issue that we have in Lee County and Chatham is that the second and third generation of these farms are willing buyers and sellers. The new generation sometimes doesn't want to stay on the farm or do farming for a living. And none of this would happen if there wasn't a willing seller and a willing buyer. So we have to come to that realization. We're also too close to the triangle in Raleigh to stop this kind of growth. I will just say that 10 years ago, the reason I ran for mayor 8 years ago was that Lee County, for example, had a negative and flat tax-based growth. We couldn't keep people here. We didn't bring in a single job. We were in a terrible recession, and we were really headed in a negative direction. So this growth and the opportunities we're having is going to lift a whole lot of people out of poverty. It's going to put us in a different place in the world where hopefully people will flourish and thrive. And we balance that with environmental sensitivity and be good stewards of the environment, knowing that there's, what we're doing is hopefully bringing in quality growth and not low quality growth that is a burden. So I think Chatham County is very sensitive to that. And that's where your elected officials become incredibly important. If you don't think local politics matter, this is the time when it matters, because they will help shape, what the countryside looks like, and they will help enforce, what a company is allowed to do and where and when. So, and I think you can balance it, but it wasn't very long ago, we were not in a good place economically. People didn't have good jobs. People were struggling with the financial meltdown. So, we've come full circle, and actually this region working together is probably one of the hottest, best regions in the United States right now.
How have you guys addressed any potential environmental issues that the plant might bring about, or that building this huge plant, and what kind of environmental issues have you guys looked at, thought about? How are you going to address any that might arise?
We're certainly working closely with DEQ in Raleigh on any issues that might arise. And as Mayor Mann said, our county has been one of the leading counties, I think, in North Carolina in terms of environmental responsibility, with having in Chatham County, we've had an environmental responsibility committee for several years. So this is not new for us. And certainly one of the things with our elected officials here is the fact that this was an electric vehicle manufacturer, and thinking about the positives that has ultimately for the environment. That's where we need to be going. And again, trying to reach out to more people for opportunities at a large employer like this.
And also keep from the water and sewer quality, wastewater and water treatment. The state has awarded Sanford $140 million to build and construct and upgrade the sewer and water infrastructure to Moncure. So with that money, we're going to build part of that money. We're going to build a new water plant in Sanford, expand the one we have. And we're bringing in partners from Holly Springs, Fuquay, Chatham County, and Pittsburgh. They'll all pay into our new water plant expansion. With that water, it's a $278 million water plant expansion. But with that expansion will come the latest and greatest technology to screen and filter things like PFAS, which unfortunately for us, we don't have any, or only trace amounts that we do have, because we're bringing our water source from Cape Fear. But we'll have the best known treatment facility at the time when we construct this. So we think our water and sewer quality, wastewater treatment quality is going to be the best of anywhere in the country. Hopefully, we will be able to return really good, clean water to our users, which will be some in Chatham County and in Pittsburgh.
Thank you for that. Another question. You guys, had talked earlier about having major players involved, such as the community colleges. And one question was, is there any thoughts or any talk about ramping up some of the degree programs in manufacturing to help deal with the potential job growth in working in that particular facility?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, the community college have been a key player in this project for us, and in particularly Central Carolina Community College. They're Chatham, Lee, and Harnett, so that's another good regional story in terms of what we're talking about here. And another unique thing that's happened, and the timing is great for our region, is that there is a facility called the Eugene Moore facility that's brand new and is being reconfigured as we speak. And it is adjacent to Central Carolina Community College, actually, and the Dennis Wicker Center in Sanford. And the reason I bring this up is it is a former manufacturing facility at 220,000 feet, and it is going to be a multiple discipline training center. 30,000 feet of that is going specifically for VinFast. And so we're very excited about that. And certainly we are in the process of working with community college on new training programs.
That's a very key piece, Keith. It's a very key piece because, and I ate dinner with Dr. Chapman, the president of community college, last night, and she is equipped and ready. And Eugene Moore donated over $2 million to this innovation center, and it will be the state-of-the-art training facility for people at VinFast. And what's important is that these jobs will be not just for engineers and high degree people, but it'll be for working class people, auto technicians, assembly people, good paying jobs for people that don't necessarily have to have a 4-year degree to get it. They'll come through the community college and get the exact training that VinFast needs and put these people to work. And that means Chatham County and Lee County people will have an advantage of getting those jobs over people that might be trying to get them from other states and move here. But and there'll be enough jobs to go around, though. There'll be plenty of people from out of state moving here for these jobs, but there'll be a lot of jobs. I would say a big majority of these jobs could come locally if people apply for them and they go through the community college training center.
And, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I just want to add to what Mayor Mann just said, is because I think a challenge that we have right now from a workforce standpoint is enough people out there don't realize, how do you get a job at Pfizer? How do you get a job at VinFast? It's through the community college. That's exactly how you do it. And the more people that can get that word out, the better off our community will be.
Absolutely.
And we talked, how many jobs did we say it was going to create?
7,500.
Yeah.
Okay.
Initially 7,500. We've had, and Michael may not want me to say it, but they've been telling long-term 13,000.
Okay.
Yeah, 12,700 over in the second phase.
Yeah.
Now, Mayor Mann, this question is for you. It says, my father, David Ham, is acting mayor of Goldsboro. That city is also attracting investment from corporations that are changing the look and culture of the city. What has been the feedback from longtime Sanford residents in anticipation of VinFast coming to town?
Sanford, that's a great question. And Goldsboro's done an incredible job of transforming their city to something that people are really proud of down there. So Mayor Ham's going to do a great job. He followed another mayor that did a great job. A perfect example of a small North Carolina town deciding to take their own life into their own hands rather than just take what they get. Sanford residents are poised for this. I mean, we have been positioning this kind of growth opportunity for many years. We've had so much public and private money donated to our Economic Development Corporation, and all of our stakeholders and citizens are pretty excited about it. I mean, we have some that are justifiably worried about growth or don't want to be displaced, and you're going to have that. But we remember just 8 or 9 years ago, Sanford was not in that great place that I mentioned earlier. And people are excited about what we're doing in our downtowns now and what we're doing with our sports parks and all the things that this wealth creation is bringing to our community. And yet we're still holding on to our small town vibe. I just think we're going to be, I think Pittsburgh, probably Siler City and Sanford are going to be huge winners in this because there's so much wealth going to be created which will give us so many of the big city amenities with the small town quality of life.
You mentioned earlier that there were some, a lot of these jobs are going to be for people who may not have a college degree. And one of the comments was that they've noticed postings for VinFast jobs for computers, if some type of computer engineering, that they have to have BAs. Are they're looking for, they're going to be hiring people with those advanced degrees and with non-advanced, or with associate's degrees as well as advanced degrees? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. And then those high level computer type jobs may require a BA degree.
I think it'll vary very widely, and certainly any job that they're applying for now. I mean, again, this is a very early stage in the facility's not there yet. It's going to be.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the ink's hardly dry on this project. Yeah, but
Okay.
they're moving fast, and you folks are probably hearing more than most people in the whole region have ever heard about it, other than maybe what the News Observer or the Triangle Business Journal has written.
We appreciate you guys being here. We try to do the best we can to honor our memory.
That's
All
right.
right. So the one question was, did Hyundai consider Lee County?
Did not consider Lee County. It might have considered Chatham. I don't know, Michael, if you can speak to that or not.
They did. They looked at both of our sites in Chatham County because it was, again, one, as I referenced earlier. I mean, a mega site's at least 2,000 acres, and they're few and far between. And so we're fortunate to have two, and absolutely, Hyundai did look here.
When you talk about mega sites and you talk about sites in Chatham County, can you give me a little bit more information about that? And we talked about how we got them here, but in the past, what has Chatham County, Lee County done to attract this? Talk to me about what mega sites are. What does that mean when you talk about mega sites?
A mega site's at least 2,000 acres with access to a 4-lane highway and access certainly to a major metro. And in the case of the Chatham Advanced Manufacturing Site, which we call the CAM site, it's only half an hour south of Greensboro. And one of the regional stories on that that certainly affects Lee as well is the 421 corridor that runs from Winston down to Fayetteville is in the process of being updated to Interstate 685. And so that will dramatically alter and enhance what's going on in Siler City and then going down through Sanford. And so that's another exciting part of what's going on in terms of transformation for this region. And I guess, having utilities, that's obviously a part of what is another big driver of all these mega sites, because another thing that we have seen that's really a huge difference is, for example, 20 years ago when the Moncure site was first kind of put together, we were thinking about wanting to bring an automotive plant to Moncure. Back then, we were thinking kind of basing that on what do they do at the Greer site in BMW. And back then, it was like 1 million gallons a day of water and sewer, and that was going to be plenty. Well, now it's at least triple that for these big projects. And so that's one of the things that continues to evolve in the different industry sectors that we get to have a look at these mega sites is their utility demands and how we handle that.
Okay. So I have one question here. It says, VinFast is advertising, well, statement in the question. VinFast is advertising sales of their vehicles this year, I believe. It says, do you have any plans for local retail presence prior to the plant opening?
I don't know that yet. No, we're still working through that. But I will say something that I've done, and I would encourage everybody on this call to do. You can go online, and I'll find the link and send it to you, and basically get yourself virtually in line to get one of these either a VF8 or a VF9, and it's like $200 to get in line, and you get an NFT and a couple of other benefits. It's kind of a fascinating marketing plan that they've got that a number of us have already gone ahead and put ourselves in that line.
Okay. All right. One question: what types of companies are coming to the campsite?
Well, as you just heard, electric vehicle plants and suppliers have looked there. We also have had some dramatically large looks from a couple of semiconductor plants that made their way in the news as well. So very high advanced manufacturing opportunities are continuing to look at us at the campsite.
At those two campsites, has the land, quote unquote, all been spoken for? We've got some space for some more companies to come in.
No, it hasn't, and I guess that's another part of the story. And I will go back to Moncure in terms of when you have a site this large, one of the keys is having the ownership that's on board to hold all that together for a big user. Because certainly, if you've got multiple owners at a 2,000-acre site, and somebody comes along and says, "Hey, I want a fourth of it for a different use, and here's a check," that's difficult. And we're grateful that the ownership at Moncure was able to hold on and allow for us to have this one user. And right now we have a similar fortunate scenario at the campsite where we have one primary owner that is wanting to hold that 19 acres for a major user.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So since this announcement, have you guys seen more interest from I guess retail giants, food store chains, other people that might be interested in coming to the area since this announcement? Have you guys seen any evidence of that?
I have in Sanford, Keith, tremendous activity, tremendous from all different commercial, retail, and we now have 10,000 housing permits in some kind of approval. Because in Sanford, and not different from Chatham County, we only have about 60 active MLS listings today. And we've got 3,400 jobs coming before we even heard of VinFast. So we need these permits. We've also seen everything from retail, commercial stuff coming in. It has definitely jumped here in Sanford, and I'm sure it's about to jump in Chatham County.
Okay.
It is. It's moving forward in Chatham County as well. And I guess one interesting fact to add to this that actually my friends in Lee County have talked to me about, and now I'm talking with our leadership in Chatham about, and that is the local tax benefit as a result of the past 3 years of new investment have brought tremendous new sales tax revenue as a direct result of the construction boom in Lee County. And so it's an amazing, it's just one more positive in terms of revenue for local governments that can be very flexible with those funds.
Yeah, one of the stories we have, Keith, Chatham County had 2 mega sites, so they couldn't favor one or the other. It's like having 2 children and you got to split your money equally. So to build that sewer line, it was going to take $16 million. So they asked us to do it, and we said, well, we don't want to be your banker, but we'll be an equity partner. So we constructed a deal that Sanford will get 20% of the property taxes that come off that line. So anybody that taps onto that line in Moncure, the citizens of Sanford will receive 20% of the property tax that goes into our general fund. And that's a huge thing for a city that's always looking for revenue. And that way we don't have to raise taxes as fast or as much or as often. It'll be a great boon. And of course, when you're looking at $4 billion investment over time, Chatham County should feel very honored. Their coffers should change for the better. And FedEx has made an announcement, so they're going to be up on that site too. And there's no incentives paid for these guys that come in around VinFast. So everybody wins right off the bat, out of the gate, economically.
Just so everyone would know, Jay Walden has put the reservation link in the chat. So if you're interested in reserving one of those vehicles, Jay has put the link in the chat.
Sounds like Jay's going to buy one. He's going to get a $200 deposit refund.
Oh, Jay,
He'll be able to get one. That's pretty cool.
Any more questions? Come on, guys, fire away. I know you have plenty of questions. Someone wait to see if someone post some more questions, but we do appreciate you two young men being a part of this discussion today, because it's going to do some great things for our economy here in the area, both Lee and Chatham counties, and we're excited about that. And I know, Mayor Mann, when you were talking about the sales tax, that's one of the things that we've kind of been struggling with in Chatham County, and making sure that when you buy things in Amazon or you buy them in wherever you go you shop, you want to put that Chatham County zip code in there so that you can get those revenues for the sales tax. So yeah.
Right.
All right, any questions? Come on, you all fire away. We got 23 of you all that are here online. Shoot some questions. They're silent today. Let's see, I think
It's a lot to process. This is you guys have a front row seat on this information, and it's I will leave you with, or not leave you necessarily. I will tell you that this is a transformational change in our region, and there's going to be some ups and downs of growth, no doubt about it. But I think at the end of the day, if we all do it right, especially if you're in the real estate community, you're probably going to have the best 10 or 15 years you've ever dreamed of. And builders, if they can get their act together and get the product on the ground and get some luck with supply chain, could be one of the greatest eras of construction building that we've ever witnessed in our history. And you talk about sales tax revenues. We've been able to not raise taxes. In fact, our county lowered taxes, and we still built a $25 million sports park, a new library, a new Bill Gates early college. And we've done all these things before VinFast ever came here, based on the expansions we've had in the last 2 years with industry. So it's been a great boon to communities, and I think VinFast will be a huge boon to a lot of communities, not just our two.
I just appreciate the work that the two counties are doing together to make this profitable for everybody that lives in the county. Jay asks, what is the biggest missing piece, challenge to attract other economic development wins like this?
That's a good one. I don't know, Michael, we can both probably talk about that. I mean, obviously you've got to have, I tell you, the biggest thing is having a prepared community. And if you're split in your politics, if you're split in your leadership, you're not going to win any of these deals. And I can't say that Sanford would have been anywhere close to winning any of these deals 8 or 9 years ago, because we were absolutely diametrically opposed by party lines on what we wanted to do. And if you don't get your community to work together, you can forget about winning, because these companies move too fast and too aggressively to wait around for a community to get their act together. And then part of that means you got to invest. You got to fund sites. You've got to fund economic development. You got to pay good people like Michael, who's been with the Department of Commerce. He's had his tentacles in economic development in the state 25, 30 years. So you've got to fund these people. You got to build a team around them, and you've got to be prepared as a community. You've got to work with your community college. I think always workforce is going to be a challenge, but we've probably got the advantage because of all of our universities and our very much underrated community college system. We've probably got one of the best community college systems, and Central Carolina Community College, being probably one of the very best of the community colleges in the United States, has made a major impact. There's a whole lot of other things, but taxes and quality of life components, you got to, once you bring them here, they want something to do and a good place to live, which I think we've all kind of made strides towards that. Michael, what I leave out, I know you've got probably other things, but those are the things that having a prepared community that's sticking together. And Chatham County has gotten their act together, and so has Lee County and Sanford. That's why we won. Don't kid yourself. If we were all not working together, they would have left us in a heartbeat.
Yeah, no, I think you said it exceptionally well, Mayor Mann. Thank you. And I think, another thing as we're going forward is trying to have people behind us. There'll be bumps in the road, and trying to remember in terms on the discussion about incentives. Incentives are performance-based. And basically in all of these cases, ultimately, in our communities, we are basically refunding a portion of new money that's coming in. We're not taking money out of any existing programs. And I think as much as we can have those kinds of talking points out there that people understand, performance-based incentives are what we have. They're competitive, and that's the way we have to win. I mean, it's basically a part of the business model now. And we're fortunate to have leadership in both counties that understand that. And again, when you're talking about these dramatic changes in tax revenue that Lee County has seen and that Chatham County is about to see, it's an extraordinarily exciting time. And I think that in the 20 years I've been doing this in this state, there has never, ever been a time like this. I mean, the last 18 months or so, it's been incredible. I mean, you hate to call it the Wild West, but I mean, in as long as I had been in this business, I had never seen a $1 billion project. And my last couple of months when I was in Sanford, we had a shot at my first $1 billion project we'd ever had. And I remember my colleagues and I high-fived in the hall. We were all excited about it. That turned out to be the Fujifilm Diasynth project that went to Holly Springs. So it did stay in the neighborhood. But since that time, we've had at least 15 projects of at least $1 billion or more. And it's a dramatic time. And I think that, you know, I feel grateful and fortunate to be in the middle of this. And I hope you all, in being in this industry, feel the same way.
And, you know, to add to that too, Keith, is it's been kind of refreshing from my standpoint, being a small town elected official, to finally see, you know, Governor Cooper's office is really, they lead in economic development. The governor is really in charge of economic development. And we're a purple state. We're probably as divided as any state in the country politically, unfortunately. But one thing that I think this state of North Carolina has agreed on both sides of the aisle, is that winning these projects matters. And we've missed on so many in the past. So when I talked about how a prepared community, you know, our legislature, our General Assembly, even though they act like they don't like each other, they were very much prepared to win this together. And that's made the difference. In the past, we've missed because I think we couldn't get our state leaders to agree on how much they were going to pay in incentives. For example, the state will pay $1 billion in incentives to VinFast if they create 4,500 jobs, 7,500 jobs and $4 billion investment. And if they don't get any of that money. So it's a performance hook. We couldn't agree on those kind of concepts just a few years ago. And so we finally are working together. This is one thing that Berger and Governor Cooper seem to agree on. It took a little while to get there, and then we went ahead and had the foresight to run the infrastructure and invest money in these prepared sites. The day of bringing somebody to a cornfield and hope they build their plant in a couple of years is long gone. You have to have these. It's kind of like having a model home for a new construction neighborhood. If you don't have the model home and the plat design and all the elements that are going to go with it, people will just go to the next community. And this is what Michael and, you know, Chatham and Lee have really kind of latched onto. Lee County got that concept. We built these spec buildings just like a model home that have resulted in a whole lot of wins for us. And that Moncure site and that Cam site were basically model homes for mega sites. We were prepared, and now, you know, they're going to make a car in 2 years. But if we weren't prepared, it would not happen in 2 years, and they would have gone to another community that would be more prepared. Alabama or Georgia has usually been where they go, right? Or Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, and you make a fantastic point. You know, I think is that it was basically 3 years ago when these new transformational incentive programs were put together in Raleigh, and Speaker Moore and Senator Berger and Governor Cooper's office have worked exceptionally well together. I mean, they may not agree on what day of the week it is, but when it comes to a project, they've been incredibly helpful and continue to be on these big projects. But again, the transformational, there's a program called the JDIG program, Job Development Investment Grant Program. And in the last 3 years, that has been tweaked. And as major companies come in, and there's certain milestones, if they hire at least 1,750 jobs, or if the next milestone is 3,000 jobs and several billion in investment. Again, these are numbers, as I just indicated, a couple of years ago, we didn't hear those kind of numbers. They existed, but they didn't exist in North Carolina. And now, thanks to leadership in Raleigh and the continued ability to work together, we're in the ballgame.
So you all talked about the V8 and the V9s, and so these are the electrical vehicles that they'll be building.
Yes.
And so what's the difference? One is a larger model car, one's a smaller version car, or what's the
difference?
Yeah,
the V9 is larger. The V8 is kind of like a BMW. I believe it's MX3 is kind of in terms of the size and the way it's set up.
And
more compact. It looks really good too, Keith. I mean, they're pretty cool looking. And I understand that you may end up like leasing the engine. I mean, the battery. See, I'm already still in the old school. But, you know, these batteries, there's a movement for maybe a universal battery one day. But right now, companies are coming out with their own. But, yeah, I understand you might have a lease option on your battery. So when it begins to wear out, you would just replace it with another lease battery. So there's a lot of technology evolving there.
Okay. And you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but can you confirm for us again about the time they're going to be open, that they're going to be projected time they're going to be open and paying, and you know, actually people start making money and earning wages at this company?
The average wage is going to be a little over 51,000, and they would like to be in productions basically July of 24 is what Madam Tui announced that afternoon in Raleigh. So.
Okay, so about 2 years, you'll be working in cars that started being made. Okay, great.
That is extremely aggressive, Keith. Yeah, just to build the water and sewer infrastructure, it's going to take every bit of that. But that company produced its first vehicle in Asia in 2 years, so they know they can do it. It's just a matter of other things happening, I guess.
We're going to have to catch up with them. Is that what it sounds like? Huh?
Apparently.
Okay. And so when we think about this growth, and a lot of your folks here, we all realtors, we're concerned about, or really want to know a lot about the development aspect. You said in Sanford, you've seen what, almost 10,000 permits for new build?
Yes, sir.
Michael, how does it look in Chapel? I mean, in Chatham County? What are we seeing there in terms of development and real estate, land development, things of that nature?
I don't have the numbers this morning. I do know that we've got a slide that we've used multiple times that say basically within a 30-minute drive of this site that there were 20 different subdivisions in the process of going up, and that includes Galvin's Ridge, which is certainly in Lee County. Another, I guess, story that I'll add to that is when multiple times when we've had meetings actually at Chatham Park with clients, and then we would drive them to Moncure to show them that site. What we would do, rather than taking the most direct route, we take them about 5 minutes further, which meant we would drive across Jordan Lake, and then as we're taking a right at 751, we basically would drive by about 4 different subdivisions that, as we speak today, have bulldozers out there now. So it's one thing for me to say we've got growth. It's another thing to drive by it and see it on both sides of the road.
And Keith, I've seen 3 builders that I work with in my lending business, in my mortgage business, that I've had meetings with. That one has a 1,500 plat development on P Ridge proposed, and 2 others that are a total about 800. So I know personally of 3 plats that are going to be submitted for about 2,500 lots within like 3 or 4 miles or less of VinFast. A lot of it, some of them on P Ridge. So yeah, we're starting to see the demand is already being met.
Okay. So we're seeing demand for housing, we're seeing demand for retail vendors coming in. So it just seems like it's going to be a great opportunity for everyone, and just for both counties, and I'm excited about it. Do we have any more questions from our real estate or realtors or our broker community? Any more questions? I'm not seeing any come up. Well, we were scheduled to go to 1, but we can end it here at 12:30. Let me see. I've got nothing. Well, we got a big thank you from Jay. Jay wants to thank you guys for attending. We thank everyone here for participating in this chew. Any last words from Mayor Mann and Mike?
Keith, thank you for having me. I hope most people look at this favorably and positive. There's no doubt there's going to be some growing pains that Chatham County is going to have to experience, as well as Lee County. But I think overall we're going to help more families than we're going to ever hurt. And I think we're going to create a whole lot of winners. But hopefully this will be one of the greatest projects that we'll ever live to see. And I'm excited about it. I hope that the folks listening, get a little head start on their preparations in their business to maybe begin to think about how they can take advantage of what's getting ready to come. It's a rare place where you have 20,000 permits in Chatham Park, and you've probably got another 5,000 around Moncure area, P Ridge Road area, that you can sell people homes and properties with. So we're pretty excited for the future and looking forward to what's coming next. Yeah,
we're very grateful in Chatham for the regional collaboration and cooperation. It's an exciting time to be here. Again, it's an outstanding time in terms of opportunities for our citizens. And again, I would just hope that everybody on this call takes away from this. This is a great time to be here and help us be very positive going forward with this project. So it's been a pleasure to be with you. I've got to roll off because I've got another meeting I've got to get to, but thank you very much for having me this afternoon.
Michael,
and wish you all well.
appreciate that, Michael. Appreciate you being here with us. Have a great day, sir. Mary Man, one last thing before we close. We've had one person ask about this whole project being a model for smaller cities, and how we thinking about how we embracing green energy in this whole process.
Well, I think going away from gas engines is probably a good thing for our country, energy independence. And I think it's going to usher in a whole new green wave, and you're going to see a lot more eco-friendly designs. And we were talking last night about a company who wants to come here that wants to build timber beams instead of timber mass beams instead of steel beams, which is much more friendly, and that they want to do that in our area. I think you're going to see just a lot of more creative thought. I think Sanford, Pittsburgh, Jordan Lake, the whole region that we're talking about here is probably going to be a leader in great ideas with technology advancements and all. So we're already talking to people about things like this. I do think that the takeaway for other smaller cities is it's okay to work with other communities. It's okay to cross territory, geographic lines, and collaborate. And I think if communities will be prepared and invest and have a plan like we did in Sanford. I wrote an Open for a Business agenda plan in 2013. I kind of wrote a business plan for our city like I would in my business. And it's really kind of worked. We've kept our eye on the ball. And I think if you can do that in any community, you can win, especially if you're small. I think the key there is to engage your private citizens, your stakeholders, and do these public-private partnerships and do bigger picture things that have more impact on people. And you can do that in a small place or a large place, but the small places are a whole lot more fun because you get a lot more impact out of it. And more people seem to embrace and enjoy it. That's what we've done here. We've just tried to use good common sense to leverage our assets and kind of hold on to what we like about our community.
That's a great ending. And we thank you so much for your participation. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your wisdom to this group. Any other question before we call it to a close for my realtor friends? Well, if not, thank you all so much. You guys have an outstanding day. Again, Mayor Mann, we appreciate you. We thank you for your input. And again, we thank Michael as well. Everyone have an awesome day.